no one looks really that stressed, which is really nice. Maybe we don't need this. Um, Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I co-founded Your Awakened Heart with Linda Barberic, who is also joining us in order to bring teachings about mindfulness, meditation, yoga, the whole mind, body, spirit connection. We teach courses, have a Sunday sanctuary class that we run, have online courses. There's all sorts of information that you can find on our website, including our new book called Soul Purpose, which is a self-directed guide for you to arrive at your why, which launched yesterday. But today I'm going to talk to you about stress because I think we can all agree that this year has been like no other. And I think, in fact, we've all gotten sort of unfortunately used to this level of stress that I don't think we really had, many of us, in our lives before. So that's rough. And I'm going to give you a definition of stress, and it's going to sound familiar, I think. Chronic stress is the response to emotional pressure suffered for a prolonged period of time in which an individual perceives they have little or no control. I think we can all get some familiarity with that. And then when you think about what chronic stress actually leads to, it can lead to insomnia, depression, anxiety, chronic disease. I mean, when I start listing these things, I start to get my heart rate goes up. The good news is that while we can't necessarily get rid of our stress, right? It's a fact of life. We can learn how to manage it, and we can learn how to manage it in a healthy way. So that's what I'm going to be walking you through. The system that Linda and I use to approach virtually everything that we teach is something called ARC, and that's ARC, and that stands for awareness, response, and then compassion. You can't really change anything until you're aware of it, right? I mean, sometimes I think we're on autopilot and all of a sudden we realize that we've been behaving one way or another and we're sort of driven by this, but that doesn't have to be that way. But first we need to bring awareness to a situation. And then once we have clear awareness, we can move into a considered response, the appropriate response. And I'm going to give you a few different exercises that you can use to respond to stress. And then the C in ARC stands for compassion. And you may be wondering why. Well, that's because Linda and I both believe that you really can't react to difficulties in life, challenges that you have in a full, healthy way unless you ground it in compassion first for yourself. It's like the oxygen mask, right? And then being able to bring that compassion to all those around you. So again, it's ARC, awareness, response, and compassion. So first, I'd like to lead you all on a short meditation, if that's okay. And just kind of come into our spaces. This will only be about 5 minutes, just to give you a sense of that. So let's just all close our eyes if that's comfortable for you. And really become aware of your body now in the room. Maybe just sort of scan and see if there's any areas of tension. And on an out breath, see if you can't just release a little bit of that tension, that stress. And now we're really going to just be focusing on awareness of how things are for us right now. You can focus on your breath. Just a light attention. Being open to whatever's here for you. And if a thought arises, you can just come back to the breath. And maybe open your awareness to the feeling of your body, maybe how you're seated. How does it feel to be grounded in your chair, on the floor, wherever you're seated? Do you notice any part of your body maybe experiencing more energy than another? You can observe what that's like. Maybe there's some sounds around you. You can open up to that without any storyline, just noticing that there's sound. Bringing a quality of awareness to your experience that is curious and open. Sort of a friendliness with whatever it is that's going on for you. And now bringing your awareness back to the room around you, you can open your eyes. I start with the meditation just to bring us all into, even though we're separated, to bring us all into a similar sort of a sense of space and shared experience. I don't know if any of you have a regular meditation practice, but even sitting once a day for a few minutes really can change your brain. It's been shown neurologically to bring calm. And the really good news is that brains are plastic, right? I guess it's the bad news. We can also create these pathways of bad habits, but we can also teach our brains to become calmer by doing things like awareness of breath meditation, which we were just practicing very briefly. And you may think that you don't have time for it, but if you actually begin to do a time audit for yourself during your day, you can probably find 5 to 7 minutes. So I would encourage you to work on that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about an exercise that shows really concretely how important our attitude towards our own change is. You'll all take your hand and make a fist out of it. I'm using my left hand because I'm left-handed. And really clench that fist and feel that. Now take the other hand and try and pry the fingers apart. And what you notice is that the other hand resists, doesn't it? You can feel a sense of tightening because you're just pulling and pulling and pulling. Okay, so now you can shake that hand out a little bit. And then let's make that fist again. And now take this hand and bring it to the other hand with a sense of warmth and compassion and understanding. And most people respond with an opening. Can you feel that? The release of the hand? It's just a really concrete example of if we can approach what it is that we're trying to change with compassion and warmth for what we have going on, we're much more likely to be able to impact what's happening for us. And so I really like to remind myself of this. Sometimes I can get all sort of caught up in something, and just putting my hand. And then the other thing to remind ourselves is that the way we respond, like if that hand is in a fist, it's taking care of something. You can say, thank you for being like this. I appreciate your taking care of this. But also now it's time to release. So that's another practice that I wanted to share with you. So let's talk about a couple of other easy exercises that we can do to release stress. One of them is simply called taking a pause. And this can be, if you think about your day, if there's anything that you do on a pretty regular basis, let's just say we open up our computers. Before you go into whatever that action is that you're about to follow through with, just take a simple pause. Maybe it's drinking a cup of tea. Before you make yourself your cup of tea, take a pause. Before you make a phone call, whatever you choose to do that with, having that sense of pause actually creates space so that when you get into a reactive state around a thought, right? So we're talking about stress and how we react to stress. And part of what happens is we get all caught up in our thinking. If we can create a pause before we actually react, we create space for our minds to change the way we react. So I think that's another great way of an exercise for you to consider to do, is really identify something that you can take a pause with and make it be part of your day. And you can also, just going back to the awareness piece, come back to that idea of, as I take this pause, can I be really aware of how I am right now? It helps me a lot, and has helped me in my practice, to identify how my body reacts to stress. So I can locate where it is and I can notice it. Again, that's that awareness piece. And then instead of just going into it, start to think about, well, can I pause here and can I choose a different reaction? And one of the best ways that we can react and really calm ourselves down is to use a calming breath. So I'm going to ask you all to do this with me as well. Again, just coming to awareness of where you are right now. If it feels comfortable for you, you can close your eyes. And we're going to breathe in for, say, 3 counts, and then out for 6, or in for 4, out for 8. Don't make yourself crazy with the count number. Just understand that you're basically breathing in and then breathing out at double that, right? So it really reduces the stress. So starting with an in-breath. And then a slow, natural out-breath. And if you need to take a pause in between going on to the next breath, you can do that. This should not be forced. And just breathe in for 3. And then out for 6. And if you can do that for 3 more rounds on your own pace. So that is a practice that you can do anytime. I'll do it when I'm walking into the office. If I can feel that there's a little bit of a heightened sense of energy and stress, I'll just do a few rounds of that, and it really, really brings down that sense of reactivity. I hope you had that experience as you did that. You can do that when you're having a difficult conversation with someone. They don't even need to know you're doing it, right? It's such a private, personal, just very kind of singular activity that you can do for yourself. So I would encourage you to use that. That's the one that's also been studied. It has an impact on the vagus nerve. It really impacts the entire system of your body that you don't really feel like you have full control of. But if you felt if you practiced that and you felt how it brought your energy level down, that's really what's going on there. It's a very healthy practice.
Eliza, we have a question about breathing.
Uh-huh.
Why do we have to release our breath from our mouth?
I don't know that I gave that instruction.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, that's interesting that that came up because I didn't give an instruction of where to breathe in and out of. I'm trying to think, when I do that calming breath, I breathe through my nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I know that anyone who practices Pilates, we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Mm.
But when we practice yoga, it's in through the nose and out through the nose. I think out through the nose is much more calming.
Yes, I would agree with you. And I think that when you talk about sort of the yogic breath, the pranayama work, which Linda knows a ton of about, it's really a concentration practice. And it's and I don't like to use this word, but I will. It is a sense of a little bit of control. So if you think about the in and the out through the nostrils, the for me, the impulse of breathing out through the mouth, it's a little looser, and it feels there's almost like this um, a sigh impulse. And that's not what we're going for. I mean, we can sigh all we want, and we should sigh whenever we feel like it. But but that particular calming breath is really just about being very, very, very aware of um, the breath coming in and out of the nostrils. And it looks like Carol, who's a singer, has something.
Yes, so I'm going to read it because it's important to, it's great
Yeah,
information.
yeah,
I think Carol
interesting.
might chime in. She's got a wealth of information. Diaphragmatic pursed lip breathing helps maintain positive thoracic pressure, helps rid you of carbon dioxide, which can make you tired,
Yep.
increases oxygen intake. Great for anyone with emphysema, asthma, COPD, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really the point of the exercise that I was just bringing us through is that just that sense of release and, just kind of bringing the energy level down. And you'll note that I also did say if it starts to get to be a little bit too much, just go back to regular breathing, because what can happen with these breathing exercises, like everything else that we try and do, is that we can get a little bit tight, and our effort can be just a little bit too much, and then that takes away the entire point of the practice, right? Did anybody else want to share any of the experience that they had with that, or does anybody have more questions about that before I move on to the other thing I was going to work on? Your inhale seems rushed. I would change the pace of your inhale then, Celeste. Like I had said, I breathe very slowly. Don't know why, but I do. So if I say to someone, your count can be 3, mine's 4, you want to keep the count, very, and you're a musician, right? So you want to keep it almost like metronomic, right? That sense of that pace, that quiet pace. So, but that's also probably just a sense of stress, to be honest. But it's really just working on how much effort we're going to expend on these exercises, right? Um, so I want you to think a little bit about, I think we'll do this, just everybody, and don't think about something so highly stressful that it's going to make you, crazy. But can you come up with some kind of a stressor that you have in your life right now? And you can do this with your eyes closed if it helps you, or you can just, sit here and think about it. But what I really want you to do is think about where you experience that stress in your body. What happens to your body? And if you feel like after you've done it, you want to throw in the chat, like what part of your body you're feeling it. It's a pretty interesting catalog, but I want us to work on that right now. So let's all focus on something unpleasant and stressful. And really, really feel where it's in your body and what's happening in your body. For me, it's a constriction in the chest and kind of a harder time breathing. Okay, and we have stress in shoulders, eyebrows, yeah, gut. Yep, heart races. Stressed about breathing. Yep, yeah. Shoulders and neck. So it's so interesting, right? Because we all experience stress, but we all experience it in different ways. And it's really important for you to understand what your personal, I call it, it's just like a stress map. It's like a map of your body. And then if you go back to that initial awareness exercise that we did, you can have that sense of awareness in your life on an ongoing basis and still have that sense of curiosity that we were practicing with the awareness of breath, that sense of openness, and also being in observing what's happening for you. So let's just say that my stress response is in my chest. My heart begins to beat more. I don't have to go right into that. I can just say, oh, feeling stressed, my heart's beating, I'm getting, a little bit more of maybe the flush in my cheeks, whatever my experience is. So I can recognize, because our bodies are our gateways to the rest of our lives, and our senses give us information, really important information. Back in the caveman days, it was that there was a tiger coming and we had to run, right? That's why our body reacts like this. But now we're probably not facing that, but we still have that sense of fright and flight. So I say that wrong, but so I'm going to walk you through a mapping exercise, because this is one of those things where you can actually change your physical reaction to something that's happening and change your entire response to it. So we're going to do this meditation exercise. If you start by, again, I prefer to close my eyes. It helps me with my concentration. And again, coming back to your body. And now I want you to imagine just a beautiful place. Someplace peaceful, safe, and joyous. You can make it up. You don't have to be a real place. But really allow the sense of light, colors, what's the landscape like? Maybe allow a little smile to play at your lips. And can you notice how your body feels when you're in this joyous place? Again, really paying attention. Is there a sense of openness, warmth? How does peace feel in your body? Okay, and now we're going to go back to the stress place. Let's go back to that stressful feeling. Really let yourself feel it. And now, go back to that place of joy and happiness in your body. Feel it. Just map your way back. You know how to do it. You were just there. So I teach that because it's important to understand that you can feel the stressful feelings in your body, but you shifted just with your mind. You went from your stressful reaction into this place. And if you can recognize what it feels like, I'm sorry that it made you sad. I'm really sorry. Um, if it feels like that you can map your way to that place, you can recognize when that stressful feeling is coming on. You can physically shift inside your body using your mind to that place, and it'll decrease the stress reaction. And I am sorry that I made some people stressed out, but it's really just meant to be. You can map your way home to the joy that's really inside you. That's the message for that. So those are some of the techniques that I practice. I would, I'm just reading what Leanne said. Too hard to get back. Okay, so Leanne says that she went to this good place, it was great, and then she went to this bad place and it was bad and it was really hard to get back. So I would, yes, I would encourage you to, first of all, practice with something that's not terrible. Practice with the fact that it made you mad that the person you lived with didn't wash their coffee mug this morning. Not with the fact that, you know, some family member is very ill, right? You use something light, but work on the physical response and then go to that place of happiness. And the more you practice with that, the more it's really a sense of confidence that you can find your way from the one place to the other. It's kind of like Hansel and Gretel and the breadcrumbs, right? But just learning that, and it's a literal path that we can build in our brains, neural pathway that we're using our bodies to help us guide through. I hope that's helpful. Yeah. And okay, so as far as not being able to think of a good place, go find an image of a beautiful place and pin it up and just look at that and use that as your place if you can't, you know, make it up in your brain. That's nice. So I'm ending a little early, but maybe we should open it up for Q&As. If there's anything else, anybody, if people have questions or